Okay, chapter 9, Haunted Places. Now that we have, and here you see the way that Kardec says the great instructor that he is, follows a sequence of events in order for us to understand things. So now that I have already passed through physical phenomena, you are already seeing spontaneous manifestations. You have already done the laboratory of the invisible world. This chapter becomes quite easy to understand. I think no one who had followed the book with us so far have understood what you have discussed here so far. We have no problem understand this chapter. It's quite simple. And you should be able to finish actually today. But no hurry, please. All the questions are welcome. So, Ryder,
Yes.
132.
Okay.
Thank you.
Places. The spontaneous manifestations which have occurred down through time and the persistence of certain spirits in making their presence obstinately felt in certain places have given origin to the belief in haunted places. The following responses were given to questions about them. Do spirits attach themselves to individuals only or to things also? It depends on how evolved they are. Certain spirits may attach themselves to earthly objects. For example, misers who have hidden their money and who are not sufficiently dematerialized may continue to watch over it and guard it.
Thanks.
Okay.
So, just as a comment, we see over here that Kardec did not give a name of a spirit giving those answers. When it came from Erastus, he mentioned that was from Erastus. When it came from St. Augustine, he mentioned that was from St. Augustine. When from St. Louis, he mentioned right there the name of St. Louis. So here we can conclude that this questionnaire has been given to many spirits and the answer came from many spirits, just like as the case of the answers in the spirits book. Okay. So do spirits attach themselves to individuals only or to things also? Once we leave this physical body, we do not change. Most of the time, or at least often, okay, we keep our priorities, we keep our interests, we keep the things that we want to pursue. So if I live my life and all my focus was on sex, because the spirit world the same way. I'll be interested in sex the same way. I'll be make myself present in the physical world where things related to sex. If it was for money, it'll be things related to money. If I was very attached to my richness, and that was all my effort into living. Once I go back to the spiritual world, I'm not going to be very much different. And again, I say often, because it's very possible that upon reaching there, getting over there, we have a shock of reality that allow us to disconnect with those things and seek more relevant ideals that pertain to the spiritual world. But quite often we maintain our state of mind and we spend most of our time here focused on things that are purely material. Is quite often that stays when you go to the spiritual world. But again, often, okay, not always.
Hey, Elmo.
Yep.
Just to use the example that you gave, uh, I think for most of us, it's hard not to be attached to something, but there are some things that are essential to us here in order to, survive and live our lives. And some of them we are we will continue to do in the spiritual realm, such as eating, like the soup and drink water, whatever yeast water in there that we call water, and other things. But you mentioned sex. That is something that you know is part of our lives here, and as long as don't use like we see like people doing crazy things, is an expression of our interpretation of loves, kind of some stuff like that. So what? Well, talking about sex, what happened when we get to the spiritual realm?
What do you mean you don't do crazy things? Just look at the case of Cuomo and a politician in Florida wasting good careers out of this topic. So we do crazy things, unreasonable things because of sex. And I use sex on purpose because it's a very powerful thing in our lives. If lucky enough to have a prolonged existence here, and in this prolonged existence here, as we spoke in the first part, the battery is going down and down and down, and our attention to sex diminishes. If we are lucky enough and allow this natural course to take place, instead of resourcing to Viagra's and etc., there's a good chance that by the time we discard here, we are already changed our focus to something more important, something more pertaining to the spiritual world. If we keep with the same state of mind, it will be just like an alcoholic in the spiritual world that seeks to enjoy alcohol through the incarnated ones. The ones with sex addiction will do the same as the alcoholic do. And you can see there is a great source of torment and distress for that spirit.
So you're saying that in terms of particular sex, we need
of any vice, any vice.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm trying to get to. First of all, is sex a vice or not? And
no.
Second of all, no. Okay.
But you can make it into a vice.
Okay.
Transform it to a vice.
Okay. Second of all, for example, we take, for example, pills in order to help our heart beat better, or for, to help our body function better, for joints, for whatever it is. And why I'm asking, right? In terms of sex per se, and we should let nature runs its course instead of also helping the body to perform a little longer or whatever.
Okay, so now here come again personal opinion, okay? Because there are some processes in our maturation that is natural decline of some functions that basically prepare us in a way to return to the spiritual world in better shape. Something to maintain the heart functioning well is vital. Something to maintain, to go against the natural process of aging, okay? Just to perpetuate a vice, it's different. Because anyone who practices sex in a safe, normal, reasonable way, we will understand the process of slowing down of the section's functions, and we have no problem of allowing it to slow down its natural course, and will not fight against it.
Okay.
It is a complex subject, Renato, but it is, for instance, it has been asked from Divaldo and from Chico Xavier these questions. what do you do with sexual desires, right? That are natural to our physical body. And the answer from both is, as we evolve, we are able to sublimate it, to use our sexual desires for other purposes. In their case, for mediumship, right? So it doesn't mean that we need to abstain. That's not what at all what they are saying. They are saying that you don't need to necessarily to act on your sexual impulses. As you evolve, you can sublimate it. And that's what we should aim to in the spiritual world, to deal with the sexual desires. I think that's,
and again,
also
not defined advances in medicine that allows correction of defects to improve quality of life. Okay, so the 35 years old guy with problems in this area who seeks to procreate, to make use of the advancement of medicine is fantastic. It's there for it. Now we have to question 95 years old, using all those progress of medicine. How helpful is that for that individual? What if that individual discarnate a few days later and it still remains with that desire, instead of allow the natural course to go through, and then end up in the spiritual world already free from that necessity?
Thank you.
Okay. Do errant spirits show a predilection for certain places? It is the same principle. Spirits who are not attached to earth prefer places where they can practice loving deeds. These spirits are more attached to people than to material objects. Nevertheless, there are those who might prefer certain places for a while, but they are always less evolved spirits. Since a spirit's attachment is a sign of impurity, does it also mean that it is evil? Of course not. A spirit can be little advanced without being evil. Doesn't the same occur among individuals? Oh, okay.
Okay, so where do we incarnated spirits hang out? Tell something about us, right? The place that you like to go often. Tells a little bit of our more intellectual progress. And obvious, once we discarnate, we again not going to change completely, and you continue to have the same kinds of desires, intentions, and you could seek to inhabit the same places. So if I spend my entire life here going to bars and hanging out in bars, not alcoholic or not, okay, upon leaving this physical body, I may like to hang out in bars. Okay, if I like to go to church Monday to Monday, once I leave the physical body, it's likely that I want to continue going to church Monday to Monday. Because they're not to be completely different. Now, it's very important differentiate uneducated versus evil, because the Quad Kardec puts over here, since the spirit's attachment to a place is a sign of impurity, does it also mean that it's evil? And the answer is, of course not. And the spirit can be little advanced without being evil. Doesn't the same occurs among individuals. So the fact that someone is uneducated doesn't mean that someone is evil, has bad intentions, evil intentions. Just means that is uneducated, do not have the opportunity to educate oneself, or is still a very young spirit in the process of education.
So Elmo, when we say attachment, it means, that's a question. It means that the benefactor already try to have the spirit to go somewhere or to move on or something, and the spirit did not want to do it. Because I'm thinking people that don't know about the afterlife and the spiritual realm, they might be quote unquote attached to a place because that's all they know. They don't know that they can, move on. So I was just wondering the attachment part.
It may be both. The attachment may be the cause that the spirit cannot move on. It's the attachment that holds that spirit over there. If I spend my entire life with my priority in life was to make money and put in a safe, once I leave this physical body behind, I'm still attached to that safe full of money, and I don't want to go anywhere because I don't want anybody to put their hands on my money. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. And may the good spirits be there trying to remove from there, but I can't connect. I can't connect with it. They can perceive their presence. So it may be an effect, it may be a cause, this attachment. And it's interesting that yesterday in our Gospel at Home was exactly the topic of attachment. And we discussed that, as the Spirit says in the Gospel according to Spiritism, the two main cancers that we spirits of this era have, that the problem, these two diseases that act as a sink that are not that keep us in the bottom of the bottom, is selfishness and pride. And it is selfishness and pride that creates all that attachment. So if I'm loaded with those two things and severely attached to something, I may not be able to perceive the help that is available for me. So it may be both a cause and an effect.
Thank you.
Because again, an uneducated spirit, and there is a very beautiful example in the book Recordações da Mediunidade of Ivone Pereira, in which she presents the case of Pedrinho, which was a young man who discarnated, and he lived in a small little house in the field in the country in Brazil, and discarnated, didn't know anything else about anything else. Only that little house. That little house was his castle. We are so proud to have that little house. And it was with a long time, slowly, that they were able to move him out of that place, because he knew nothing else beside that little house where he was born, when he grew, and everything in his world was that little house. But genuinely a good spirit, but completely uneducated. And very slowly they were able to remove him from there.
Okay. Okay, number 4.
Okay, please.
Is there any factual basis for the belief that spirits prefer to frequent ruins? No. Spirits go to those places as well as anywhere else, but spirits' imaginations are impressed by lugubrious aspect of certain places and attribute to their presence what is only, in most cases, a very natural effect. How often does fear turn a tree's shadow into a ghost, the growl of an animal or the whistling of the wind into a spirit? Spirits enjoy the human presence, and that is why they prefer inhabited places to abandoned ones. Nonetheless, okay.
Go ahead.
Nonetheless, by what we know about the diversity of temperaments among spirits, there must be misanthropes who may prefer solitude. This is why I did not give you a definite answer to your question. I stated that they can go to the abandoned places as well as anywhere else. So it is obvious that those who avoid human contact do so because it suits them. This does not mean, however, that ruins are necessarily preferred by spirits, since it is certain that they are more often found in cities and in places than deep in the woods.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so is there any factual basis for the belief that spirits prefer inhabit ruins? It's pure folklore.
Yeah.
Okay. It's if you think in places in ruins, old buildings, old houses, solitude and silence, you are more likely to perceive noises that you perceive in a busy, crowded place. Ruined, unkept, or even if kept, old buildings, old houses make noises. Okay, have more hiding places for animals. So you are more likely to hear noises, to perceive sounds and all kinds of things, even without any imagination that's really happening, than in a busy place where your attention can be brought to and many other things that is happening, to movements that's happening. Then in places in ruins that we have the silence and you have, you know, the natural noises of old places. To that, we add human imagination. Now, those noises that are there, you give it a source. And with human imagination, that source can be anything. Since it's already stated some kind of association of old ruined places with spirits, it leads us to perpetuate that folklore, to continue that idea. Now, what the spirits are telling us is the spirits are everywhere. In the cities, in the small fields, in the country, in the ruins, everywhere. They're not saying that they are not in the ruins. Some may be there for a specific reason. Those who are misanthropes, who avoid humans, who have a dislike towards humans, wants to be alone, will seek places where they can be alone, where there is no humans around. Are ruins kind of place, this kind of places? Yes. So you may find the spirits over there. But the fact is, there's a lot of more spirits in the big cities, discarnate, than there is in the ruins.
Yeah, I think the key here is that we are the ones, we living beings, we are the ones that end up imagining those haunted places, right? As full of spirits, and actually there are spirits everywhere. But you know, when we talk about cemeteries, right? That there's a lot of spirits in cemeteries. Yes, there are, but there are also lots of spirits, you know, around us in the city, right? So it's our biased thought that places spirits in these scary places.
Yeah, and since that bias was already created, so now you go to spend a night in a ruined place, and at night, all the natural noise start to happen, the cracklings of woods and animals in holes and kind of things. You allow your imagination to go, and where does it go? You know, haunted places, spirits, all kinds of things. But there is no reason to imagine that there will be more spirits discarnate spirits, whether it is more discarnate spirits, whether it is incarnate spirits. It's obvious that the density of incarnate and discarnate spirits is proportional.
So can an incarnate spirit still be attached to the place?
Incarnated?
Yeah, an incarnate spirit still be attached to the place, let's say when it goes, dreaming or, leaves the physical body, a place from a previous life, or even a place that was before to be incarnate, to reincarnate?
To places, to things, to people. Yes, sure.
But this is not just
it's very possible that when I leave my physical body behind, I go back to Brazil, to my old house, to the manga tree that I used to love so much, and it's possible. Why not?
No, I'm not saying like when you're discarnate, while you're incarnate.
Yeah, I'm saying when I'm incarnate, when I'm sleeping, when when my physical body is at rest, I go to places where I still have attachment to.
Okay.
But you're saying while awake?
No, while awake. While awake is I don't even know if that is possible. I was thinking more like when you're dreaming, maybe since we are talking about the attachment of the spirit to a place or person. So I was thinking, but we were talking about the discarnate spirit, I think. So I was trying to figure out if an incarnate spirit with that kind of a attachment would still go back to places, or I don't know.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, this is Carol, just in an example, like people repetitively may go to the same vacation spot year after year, and maybe they don't even know why, but they're so drawn for whatever reason. And it's not necessarily relating to their family members, but the space or the place or the house or the rental, it seems that has quite a physical effect on them, a charge, an energetic quality that, for whatever reason they like it, they're drawn to it. I mean, that's kind of how I might see it, actually.
Very good point. Yeah, makes complete sense. Yeah, very good.
Okay, number 5.
I just want to make a comment quick with attachment here. The attachment is not always necessarily a very bad thing. It's not always necessary a byproduct of selfishness and pride. Okay, there are exceptions to the rules. Okay, I have said the case of this Chico Xavier's friend that I have mentioned that story before. I think it's a good time to repeat it. Chico had a friend who discarnated and lived in Pedro Leopoldo in a small house. And a few years after this discarnation, as Chico Xavier is passing in front of the house that spirit used to live, he sees the spirit on a rocking chair over there. And he got very surprised and he approached the spirit and asked, Chico incarnated, right? And asked the spirit, but forgot the name of the spirit. I am so surprised to see you here. You're such a benevolent, such a good soul, such an evolved spirit. I think you'd be doing something somewhere else, not even thinking about this place anymore. And the spirit said, yeah, Chico, I am completely detached from everything of this world. I have detached even from my family, from this house and everything else, except for this chair. This is still my place to sit and relax at the end of my working day, that I can go and reflect what I have done throughout the day. what I could have done that. This is still my chair when I can put my thoughts together and plan for the next day. I don't need anything in this world except for this chair. Is it bad? Is it a sign of ignorance? Is it a sign of selfishness and pride? No, it's still the place where no, I fulfilled my duties of the day. I am free. I have a few minutes. I'm gonna go to my little chair and do my little rocking and reflections. It is an attachment? Yes, it is an attachment. Is it such a bad thing? Absolutely not. So there is exception to the rules. Not all attachments can be seen as a negative thing. In this particular case, it's just the little chair that the guy likes. He could even, as we saw the last chapter, he could even create his own in the spiritual world. But no, it's that one that he likes. He wants that one. No problem.
But that attachment is not something that will longer, right? For example, the spirit likes a chair because I would assume that it was his previous reincarnation. But once he, maybe when he reincarnates, it's another life, won't even remember that chair, right? So if it's something that longers more than like one after one reincarnation, then it's more than an attachment, something else, right?
It is an attachment. He's attached to that chair. That's this place to rest after the end of the day. He's attached to it. But if the incarnate owner of that house or that chair decides to throw that thing on the fire and burn it to the ground, I don't think he'll miss it, but he'll move on. He's not attached to it that is going to seek revenge for destroying his chair or anything like that. It's just maybe cry a couple of tears and move on. No big deal.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a sense. For example, I'm not trying to confuse things, but for example, we know that, for example, obsession can carry from reincarnation to a reincarnation to the other reincarnation, but attachment is something more subtle that, I was getting a sense that, once you, for example, you have another reincarnation, you probably won't remember things that you were like in terms of physical things, stuff, not people. You won't remember anymore, so you won't be attached to those things because you no longer remember those, right?
Likely not, but even as in the next reincarnation, you go to places and you feel kind of cozy in that place with no apparent reason. I've never been here before, but once I got here, I have this feeling of belonging. That this is so nice to my soul. Where does it come from? Does it come from a certain attachment that we have from previous incarnation remains over there? Could be. Is it bad? Not necessarily.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, number 5. Popular beliefs are usually based on truth. What is the origin of the belief in haunted places? The basis of truth in this case is indeed the manifestation of spirits, which humans have instinctively believed throughout time. But as I said, the notion of lugubrious places strikes the imagination and naturally fills it with beings regarded as supernatural. This superstitious belief is reinforced by the works of poets and children's tales.
Okay, I like this answer very much because the spirit is telling himself the truth isn't the truth, period. Oh no, if the place is being inhabited by spirits, the truth is the place is being inhabited by spirits. That's factual, that's the truth, period. Now, what you have to do is separate facts from fictions. The fact that a place is being inhabited by spirit, it's not because it's ruined, because it's a place for spirits to haunt. No, is just a place inhabited by spirits. They could be my house, your house, the school, or whatever. Any place could have been inhabited by spirits who are presenting manifestation. That's the big differentiation, because everywhere is inhabited by spirits, but not never everywhere the spirits of manifestations themselves. The very beginning of the start is the spontaneous manifestations which have occurred down through time, and the persistence of certain spirits in make their presence ostensibly felt in certain places. So that's what we define here as haunted house, not being just only inhabited by spirit, because every single place in this planet is inhabited by spirits. My house, your house, or school, your school, whatever you go, your church, your spirit sent everywhere, right? But in places where those spirits are manifesting themselves ostensibly, that their presence is being felt by us, that's what they are labeling over here as haunted places. Now, that could be ruins as well. It could be a very modern building inhabited by many humans. Could be both of them.
It's interesting because you see all these TV programs, right, about haunted houses, about searching for spirits, and you know, I was always wonder why they, you know, they've proved that the spirit exists there. Now what? And there is never the after that, right? What do you do with this knowledge? They don't look for anything besides. They go to the next house. Okay, we found that there are spirits in this house, so let's look for the next house that also has spirits. When this becomes a boring experience, and you know, and even when I went to a congress of parapsychology many years ago, more than 10 years ago, and the mediums, Alison Dubois was there, actually, the one that was based the series Medium. And the experiences are pretty much similar, right? There was a medium that talked about a house in Los Angeles that he visits every time, and that there is a spirit there that is always exchanging communication with the spirit. And, you know, I was almost raising my hand and asking, and did you ever ask the spirit what he's doing there and why he's staying there and what can you do for him to move on? But they don't, which I find it very odd.
Yes.
I know, but those ghost hunters, it makes no sense. And actually, the fiction of this, the medium of Dubois, and the other one that was the young woman was always helping spirits, makes more sense, was more real than the so-called real facts. The fictions was more close to the reality than the so-called reality TV.
Yeah, that's true. Those series had a lot of real things.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 6. Do spirits who gather together prefer certain days and hours? No. Days and hours are used by humans to control time during their material life, but spirits do not have that need and do not care about it. What is...
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so here the common other those things that no, I'm presenting the book, and this person say clearly over here the days and hours are used for humans to control time during their material life. Makes completely sense. I have no problem with that, right? But the spirits do not have that need and do not care about it. There I put a little question mark, again, a question mark, okay? And especially when you read and we understand that the spirits, especially more evolved spirits, they are also busy, they have things to do, and that's why we must respect timing when we initiate our meetings, when we finish our meetings, because they can stay at our disposition 24/7. So there is some, in my imagination, some kind of measuring time that may be completely different of the way that we measure times here, that you see days and nights here. But from what I had seen so far, that they have some kind of time management, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense to say that we have to start our works at a certain time and finish at a certain time to respect the spirits, because they have other things to do, they are busy, this and that also. So if it's not the way that we measure here, it makes completely sense to me. But I would imagine that they have some means of time management of their own as well.
Very good. I like that.
So Elmo, what's the difference from a spirit that finds himself after discarnate, evidently,
I'm
in a
sorry, say that again?
house? What's the difference between a spirit that finds himself or herself, after discarnation in a house where attached to the house or whatever, and the one that finds himself, for example, in a lower zone? What determines the one that goes to somewhere and the one that stays here?
I think it's where that spirit, and by where I mean in which level that spirit vibrates. One would agree that the spirit that ends up in the lower zone has a level of vibration much lower than the one that's hanging out, let's say, in a house.
But if you're staying in a house, you're not attached to the physical thing more than the one that went to the lower zone. It's not how we see it.
Well, but if I'm attached to my house, what would you like to be? I just kind of right now, it's still attached to my house. I stay over here and I try to protect here. I try to nobody to come in here, or someone who has no attachment to any place but wants to destroy humankind.
Yeah, option A.
I'd rather be attached. So,
And actually,
so
we
let's go back. The attachment does not mean evil.
Yeah.
It just means an education.
we actually discussed that right in our last Q&A. Why spirits, some spirits end up in the lower zones and other spirits end up around us. It's where the vibration takes them, right? Vibrational level. You are, and lower zones and here, it's not really two separate places. It's just different planes of existence. So the lower zones is also around us here. But what you see and you feel around you are different from what you see and you feel around when you are here, surrounded by incarnated people, just because of what you are connecting your mind to, right? So those that are here around us, connected to their material needs, that's because what they want, right? So those that stay in bars, those that hang up in places that people are doing things that they miss, it's their vibrational level. Those that are not concerned with that, but they are concerned with other things of an obsession or a persecution as a group, and it's not something specific, they may find themselves in the lower zones, in what we call the lower zones, right? So you have to first, it's the same thing, and second, you separate by the level of vibration, and again, according to their evolutionary path.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 7. What is the origin of the idea that spirits prefer to appear at nighttime? The impression made on people's imaginations by darkness and silence. All such beliefs are superstitious that the rational knowledge of spiritism must abolish. The same applies to the belief in propitious days and hours. You must realize that the influence of midnight has never existed except in fables. If that is so, then why do certain spirits announce that they will arrive and manifest themselves at midnight and on particular days, such as Friday, for example? There are spirits who take advantage of human credulity for the fun of it. It is the same reason that some say that they are the devil or give themselves other devilish names. Show them that you are not that stupid and that you will not return.
Thanks. What is the difference of day and night for us incarnate spirits? In general, okay, like in my case, doesn't not hold true, but in most cases, one of the best things for our mind is to stay busy, is to be thinking, working, doing something. That's why we say, that work keeps us out of trouble. And work limits our ability to imagine things. We're busy doing work. We don't have time to be imagining things, right? For most of us, night is the time that we have that free time for our mind to do things. So we imagine more things. We are able to think of spirituality and all that stuff. So it is very natural that we allow our imagination to run more at night when we have finished our obligations. We are free now to allow our imagination to do with things. So it does make sense that we will connect spirituality, ghosts, and things more at nighttime when our mind's not busy doing work, right? Because when you're doing work, you're not thinking of those things at all. Now, does it make a difference for spirits being day or night? The answer they already said that for most spirits, doesn't really days and night doesn't really exist. Which again, that's what they're saying. I question that. But it would make no sense that a spirit would only want to meet at midnight, except if they want to perpetuate, make fun with the folklore ideas that we have, that there is specific days, specific time to communicate with spirits, which every medium knows, and anyone who participates in spiritist meetings knows very well that no, we do it Monday at 8 o'clock. It's not Friday at midnight. Now, it could be that if I spend my entire life here with this idea that spirits has a time and day of the week to present itself, once I go back to the spiritual world, until I learn otherwise, I will continue with this same idea and then say, I'm gonna go to work and manifest myself, but that would have to be Friday at midnight. No, it just shows my ignorance, my being completely uneducated. But otherwise, it makes no sense. There are spiritualists in Brazil that have mediumship meetings Monday to Friday at different times of the day, different groups, and the spirits manifest themselves. Okay, questions, comment? All right.
Okay.
8.
8. Do spirits have any preference for visiting the graves in which their bodies lie? The body is no more than a garment. They have no more preference for the envelope in which they had to suffer than a prisoner for his chains. Being remembered by persons dear to them is the only thing they value. Are prayers that are offered over their graves more pleasing to them, and do they attract them more than prayers offered elsewhere? As you know, prayer is an evocation that attracts spirits. The more fervent and sincere prayer is, the more effect it will have. Thus, beside the grave of some venerated person, people concentrate harder, and the preservation of pious relics is a witness to the affection given to the spirit and to which it is always sensitive. It is always a thought that acts upon a spirit, not material objects. Such objects have more influence about one who prays by fixing the attention upon them rather than upon the spirit.
Thanks. So on question 8, we'd like that there would be the effect for every spirit, every one of us on this carnet, but not all. It is in potential, yes. Once you leave this physical body behind, we know that this physical body is nothing more than a garment that I don't need anymore, leave it alone, go on, move on. Unfortunately, there are some that still remain attached to that physical body. There are some who not understanding that we're discarnate, and will try to hold on strongly to that physical body. So it is likely, and Ron said, that around cemeteries, there will be the density, demographic density of discarded spirits may be a little bit more than other places. Spirits that is still detaching from that physical body. Ideally, it should be as the spirits answer here. With our physical body dies, we separate from it, you go back to the spiritual world and forget about the body ever existed. That is the way it should be, unfortunately, for a minority of us. And again, a minority of us, that's not the case. Now, the prayers that if I go to the cemetery and pray to my mother or to my father in their grave, is it better that if I pray at home or by the lake or in the park? It's not the location, but it is, as they say, the more fervent and sincere a prayer is, the more effect it will have. So the effectiveness of a prayer is not in the location, but it is in my sincerity and how much of myself appear I put in that prayer. That's what will make the difference. What about the objects that people put on around the graves? A picture of my daddy, a picture of my mom, or something that was very dear to one of them. It's very good for me because it may help me incarnate to put more emphasis, more sincerity, more emotion on that prayer, but not necessary for the spirit. So it may have an effect on me, but not on my parents. And because it have an effect on me, my prayer has more effectiveness, then we will be able to interact with my parents with greater strength. Okay?
But if you think if a spirit is attached to a place, and if you pray for them on that particular place, the spirit itself is no more inclined to to receive or to listen or to be, help.
Okay, let's put it the case of the graveyard, right? Of the site where the body is resting. And if the spirit is attached, the spirit is already attached. It will make no difference. My prayer actually may help him to be able to connect with the help that is available for him or her and detached and move on. If the spirit is already detached, it's already detached. It doesn't matter where I pray. If I choose to go to the graveyard and pray, you come in not because of the physical body that is buried over there, but because of my prayer. So it doesn't matter either way. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elmo, quick question. The same thing would go with an urn of the person's ashes. Would that be the same as, like praying at the graveyard? I mean, it's in your home, there it is. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would matter, but I don't know, maybe it does.
Well, in theory, yes, I agree with you. It should not matter. But I also think, at least in theory, that if someone is aware that the physical body has been burned to ashes, would facilitate the detachment of that physical body.
Yeah, but there's still particles, there's still some essence there of physicality in that urn. So maybe that person is kind of continuously evoking them. I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on that?
No, again, I think if the spirit is aware that the body was cremated, that it's just ashes now, I think it make it a lot easier to just connect than if it's buried and now remains at the constitution of the body remains, even if it's only the skeleton. One is just ashes. At least in theory, it becomes easier to come to this realization that it's nothing for you here anymore, buddy, move on.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. Okay.
But again, in theory.
We have to stop here, right, Elmo?
We do? Okay.
8:41.
All right. All right, so let's someone make the final prayer for us, please.
Yes, I'll say the final prayer. To our blessed Jesus, our teacher and our mentor, to the spiritual benefactors, for all that are here tonight, with our hearts full of gratitude. We thank you for the opportunity of being here again tonight. Continue our studies and learning and inspiring to your light, dear Lord. With our hearts full of gratitude, we thank you. May we take with us the learning lessons here today and continue throughout the week with our prayers and with our good thoughts, helping all that are in need in this physical world and in the spiritual world. We ask for their protection and their guidance. And we pray, dear Lord, for our Sunday celebration. May you be with us, guiding us and helping us, and celebrating the 20 years that you have given us here in this planet Earth. May we enjoy it and throughout that learn and take with us again, learning and understanding the love of God. We are so grateful, dear Lord. We ask for the protection of our teachers, our brothers and sisters that are here today, for all that are going through obstacles in life. May you watch over them, protect and guide them, dear Lord. May we again return next week to continue our studies. And with that in mind, we ask permission to close our meeting tonight. So be it.